community, by the community. Trans Radio UK.
Did you know we have an active and fun chat room? Come and join presenters and other listeners at transradiouk.com.
Trans Radio UK. Tune in via DAB in Ireland. Download our app via your smart speaker or online at transradiouk.com.
Truck United FC, the new football team for the LGBT community. Visit tiukunitedfc.com for more details. Trans Radio UK is on right now. Across the UK and beyond. Now, more of the music you love. Trans Radio UK.
It's Sunday, it's 9 p.m, and you know the drill. That can only mean one thing. It is time for the LGBTQ plus late show with myself, Kevin, here on Trans Radio UK. Well, what a week. I don't know where to start, really. I tell you what, we're going to start on a positive note. We're going to start with the fact that it's LGBT plus History Month. And I always think this is a great opportunity because I'm not sure what age the average listenership is, but, growing up on the border of Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, we were not exposed to LGBT history. And I appreciate that nowadays, for anybody who's much younger, you, of course, have the internet, you've got smartphones, there's all kinds of sources of information, and we're much more aware of the people who fought, campaigned, advocated for a different way of life all those years ago. Growing up, I had no idea, hadn't got a clue. So it's lovely to see so much coverage of it. I've been doing daily posts, images that I like, or people that I respect or admire, and I've been putting them up on the shop page, and it's been fantastic. And one of the nice things about having the shop is that I'm going to be attending a lot of Pride festivals this year. I'm going to have stalls at them. I think anybody that listens to the show knows that I own the LGBTQ shop, and one of the lovely things about it, yesterday, a couple of weeks too late, I bought a wall planner, and I was sitting writing lots of dates and that Pride events are going to take place during the summer. And that in its own right felt amazing, because obviously this year we're allowed to have them. And last year, I think very few of them took place. I managed to get to one in Worthing, but apart from that, so many were cancelled across the country. So that felt fantastic. And sitting doing that on LGBT plus History Month, it just felt great. And it's lovely to see all this positivity online, and it's lovely to see everybody recognizing all those people whose shoulders we stand on. So we go from the good, we've got the good to the bad. What has been going on in Westminster this week? I try to remain impartial when it comes to politics and political parties. All I can say is that Boris is still in power as we speak. We'll see how much longer that lasts. But Partygate, do you know what? I'm going to glaze over it. We've no ruffles this week, but I'm sure if she was here, her feathers would be well and truly ruffled. And I'm sure when she's back next week, we are going to see more ruffled feathers than Big Bird. So we had the good, the bad, and we've got the ugly. The EHRC, the Equality and Human Rights Commission. Well, there's a name that doesn't deserve to be used. Equality and human rights. When you're being transphobic, I'm not going to go on about it too much. If you want to know the facts, the figures, what's been going on at the EHRC, you will have seen the meltdown on social media. You'll have seen lots of our coverage of it on the Trans Radio Facebook page, and all the other social media platforms, Twitter as well. If you haven't, go on and take a look. Phoenix is doing an amazing job. Phoenix is one of our news presenters here. Phoenix is doing an incredible job at covering the story and has a few videos up on our social media channel. So go have a listen, check them out. They're fantastic. Any comments, any feedback, then it's kevin@transradiouk.com. Just email me, drop me a line. I'd love to hear from you. Coming up this evening, we of course have the Voice of Ireland Rory talking all things Eurovision, which I'm very excited about. Mike Findlay is back in his series on being the best version of you in 2022. Mike, of course, is a LGBTQ plus coach, life and career coach based in Scotland. And he's been doing a lovely little series from us on making this year a good one. And we also cross the Atlantic to speak to Suzanne Dewitt Hall and her partner Declan. And many of you will be familiar with Suzanne's work. Suzanne is an incredible author and has a fantastic back catalogue, which I'll be talking about in a moment. And Suzanne's most recent book is Reaching for Hope: Strategies and Support for the Partners of Transgender People. So that's all coming up on the show tonight. Bit of a packed one. So hopefully you'll stay with me for the next hour. I look forward to easing you into another week of mayhem. So let's get this show underway. Now, first up on the show this evening, I am delighted to cross the Atlantic. One of the really nice things about the program over the last couple of months is we're getting to chat to some incredible guests in the US. So it's absolutely lovely to sit and hear all those accents and have lovely chats on a Sunday evening. And this is no exception, because I am joined now by Suzanne Dewitt Hall and Declan Dewitt Hall, and welcome along to the program.
Thank you for having us. We're really happy to be with you tonight.
It's I have been doing a little bit of research and finding out a little bit more. What an incredible journey individually and together that both of you have had. If we perhaps talk first of all, Suzanne, about why people may be familiar with you, because you're an author and you have written 3 children's books, 8 books, and the most recent one, rather than me talk about it, if I maybe just ask you for some more information on it.
Sure. So I think most people know me. Well, there's kind of 2 audiences. One is this crazy terrier community who knows my children's books, the Rumple Pimple series, which started out as an attempt in part to just get queer visibility into children's formats. So it's not, Rumple Pimple books aren't message books like Heather Has 2 Mommies. They're just this silly, crazy dog who gets himself into situations, and he happens to have 2 moms. In the second book, his best friend is a non-binary or a gender creative cat named Mr. Noodles, who wears a pink tutu and a pink bow, for example. And it doesn't talk about the fact that that's who this cat is. It's just there. So the terrier community and the children's book kind of readers know me from the Rumple Pimple books. And then I have a devotional series. It's an LGBTQIA plus affirming, inclusive devotional series. It's called the Where True Love Is series, because the first book, that was its title. And then there's a number, basically what happened is, as we started to deconstruct our own ideas of understanding of faith, because we were discovering, sorry, I'm going around in circles because it's a long story, but as Declan and I came into relationship, it seemed to go against what we understood of faith as it was taught to us. And so we had to sort of deconstruct all that, right? Mm-hmm. And then through that process, we kept being more interconnected into the queer community and seeing where areas of pain were. And so I kept writing books to address those various kind of populations and various areas of concern. So the Where True Love Is series does that. Mm-hmm. And then the most recent book is called Reaching for Hope. And the subtitle is Strategies and Support for the Partners of Transgender People. Mm-hmm. And the goal of that is to help do exactly that, support partners, because I was seeing, obviously the struggles of trans people are huge and can be overwhelming, and exciting and consuming and a whole lot of things. And what I was finding is that the partners were feeling like they didn't know what to do, they didn't know where to go. And our heart in the work that Declan and I do, is to support and help queer people. And it seemed like one way to do that is to help the partners. So that's the most recent book. It just came out a couple of months ago. And we're trying to talk to people and see how much support we can give them.
And I guess for both of you, this is a situation which isn't something that you've had to go out and research to write about. It isn't something. It's effectively your everyday life.
Yes, absolutely. And we're super blessed because our communication, we started out as friends when we met 12 years ago. And then our relationship shifted into love, into a different kind of love. And the closeness of our communication and friendship has just deepened throughout those years. And what we find is that communication is unfortunately not that big a strength in a lot of couples. So a lot of the pain that exists, we think, is in part due to that. So yes, there were things that I was recognizing and that we were talking through all the time. Declan is very open about his process, his thinking, and when he's having a hard time. And I was able to, and since I'm a writer, I would capture some of that stuff and my own responses to it emotionally. And I would go out to support groups and see what seemed to be the biggest problems, what seemed to be the repeatedly discussed issues, and then try to find out, pool wisdom on what's helpful for those things. So yeah, you want to have anything to say about that, Declan, as far as the real life?
Well, I think love is a great teacher.
Mm-hmm.
When we get into these groups or these chats, we see that there's this pain and what you feel in love and how you react to those people, that teaches them how to react with other people. There's something that's contagious about love. And I think that we've been blessed with a really grand love, so that when we come together and we speak to an audience or in a church or in front of a college, they see the love that we have. And even if there's people in that group that are anti-LGBTQ, which there are many, they're like, wait a minute, there's something here. And maybe I should look at this again. So I think love is a great teacher.
And in terms of, you speak about how your love changed. In terms of your journey, Declan, how, in terms of the timeline of when that love changed, and then of course everything that you will have been going through on your journey, which has all had presumably COVID as a backdrop as well, which I don't know if face-to-face meetings and how did that kind of all fit together, Declan?
Well, I think in a way, COVID made it easier to come out because I'm insulated here and I'm safe. And I can work through all of these issues. I'm trying to figure out for myself, what does masculinity mean? It doesn't mean what I saw growing up to me. It's different to me. And I think it's individual to each man. And I've been able to explore that and talk to Suzanne about it in a very safe space. When we go outside of this space, we're fully vaccinated and boosted and we mask up. It's not a safe space. So I don't think I've journeyed as far as I will in my transition, anywhere near it yet. But emotionally, I think I have quite a bit. But the physical transitioning and some of that hasn't happened yet because I feel safe in this house to do whatever I want, but I don't feel safe outside of this house yet.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So it's helped and hurt at the same time.
I think I've seen a lot of it on Twitter with people posting their COVID transition difference, and it's kind of astonishing. I think it's been a side blessing, as an unexpected positive, is for trans people who were kind of forced to be working from home or more
Mm.
isolated. They just had a
Mhm.
chance to hang out and be themselves and decide, whether or not they wanted to kind of present gender in a way that was more comfortable to them.
Yeah.
And I think it's been, your experience is not unusual in that.
I've seen a lot of people come out during COVID, more than I saw the years before. And I'm on
Mhm.
social media 8 to 10 hours a day. And I would think over the last year and a half, I've seen the numbers of people come out during COVID in their safe space of their home
Mhm.
much higher than before. What about
Yeah.
you? See the same thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you were touching on this, Kevin. I think your journey, so it got really revved up during COVID, but it
Mhm.
kind of started. One of the things that kicked it into gear was my devotional called Transfigured, which was written for transgender and non-binary, gender sort of quote unquote non-conforming
Mhm.
people. And you had a surprising, what I found later to be a surprising response to it, because at that point we hadn't been discussing Declan's gender at all.
Mhm.
It wasn't something that we were actively engaged in evaluating. And then that book sort of almost flipped this. It was like a catalyst to get.
Well, I think a lot of people that know you and you yourself know that you're trans way before you come out.
Yeah.
To me, I'm 59, so nobody talked about being transgender when I was younger, or even in my 20s. Maybe I started hearing a little bit about it in my late 30s.
Mhm.
So to me, faith has always been important. We've done a lot of deconstructing, but there's a divine love, a divine presence that's important to me. And when I read Suzanne's book, which is towards LGBTQI Christians that are transgender and non-binary, I was like, wow, I'm safe with her.
Yeah.
And I'm safe with God. And this is who I am. I'm reading these pages and I'm weeping, going, this is me. And it's okay to be me. So that kind of started to kick it off. I think it's always been there. I've always known. I've just acted the role of the body I was born in.
Mhm. I think one of the things that I guess for me, I can't speak from a position of being trans. I'm merely a trans ally, but I can speak in reference to my experience with friends. And I've always had a lot of trans friends, but it's only been in the last 4 years that I've had a group of trans female to male friends. Because prior to that, the visibility, and my group can't have been it can't have been the exception. My group can't have been where it's just that all, and by all I literally mean 100% of my trans friends were male to female. And I know it'll sound insane, but even until 7-8 years ago, it's even just in being out in clubs with lots of women who were trans, and it just meeting people who were female to male. It from my perspective and from my experience, it just didn't happen very often. And then I moved to Brighton 4 years ago. We have a huge trans community, and I've now got some of the most amazing male friends who happen to be trans. And it's incredible. So it's personally, I think it's great to from just from a knowledge point of view, because I've gotten to understand how different each journey is, and from speaking to a lot of people, that the differences couldn't be more stark. So yeah, that's, and I guess Suzanne, from your perspective, I won't use the line an outsider looking in, but in many ways, it's within your relationship. It must have been. I mean, how did that evolution go? How did that look and feel?
It was very gradual, and because we started this, what we're calling now a movement, the Where True Love Is movement. It's got a big presence on Facebook with, what is it, over 1 million people reached a week. We have been talking about issues of faith and identity for a decade, over a decade. And we talk a lot, and we talk a lot about our own, self-reflection.
Mhm.
We're both pretty self-reflective, self-aware and self-reflective. So when I was really surprised when Declan read Transfigured and said, "This is my favorite book." I thought it was just, I didn't know why. I didn't understand why. I knew that there were parts in it that would resonate, but I didn't really get it. And then, a couple years in, as we continued to connect into the trans community and learn more, and as Declan engaged more in conversation and self-exploration, a lot of that was happening out loud. At the end of the day, we would share, what we had done that day, what we'd encountered, what kind of thoughts we were thinking, all that stuff. So it was sort of this gradual, in part because we were discussing these issues as it related to other people, right? We're trying to deconstruct our faith understanding of it, and therefore just talking through all these issues related to gender. Then it became, I think, more increasingly personal to Declan, and sometimes Declan would ask me questions about, how is this particular issue for you? Does this strike you like this? And I would say, no, I just experience it XYZ. And Declan said, well, I experience it this way. And I always have, and would start thinking through stories from childhood and his responses to situations and things like that. So it was this gradual unfolding. And when it came to be more concrete, it wasn't like a sudden, it wasn't a news flash, it was more like, well, yeah, that's this. It's sort of like we arrived to, obviously I couldn't arrive to the conclusion in the way that you did, Declan. But I was kind of along for the ride.
I think you look back, I think anybody who's close to somebody can look back and see it.
Yeah.
I told my mother first, and she was like, she acted stunned, very quiet. And then she went on to say things that I did that were not typical of a female. So I was like, well, you got it. You might not, say that you got it, but you got it even back then.
Yeah.
So she doesn't talk about it much, but I think in her own way, the way that she can, being a 70-plus-year-old woman, understands.
Yeah.
Right. You recognize things. Yeah. Stuff makes sense.
And I think one of the things that it's lovely to hear you both talk about. There's a couple of things that I will at some point in the future, I'm going to do a program on faith, and I'd love to speak to you both again at that time about faith within the LGBTQ community. I feel we haven't spoken a huge amount about the book tonight, and I should point out to people that is purposeful, because it's been lovely listening to both your stories, but Reaching for Hope, I know it's bite-sized. I know that it's kind of bite-sized nuggets, and it talks about time, patience, education, soul searching. It covers all of those topics. What I never like to do is talk too much in detail. It's been nicer to hear your story than talk in detail about the book, because people can go and read the book. Everybody can go and read the book after after this tonight. So it's been absolutely lovely to hear your story. I'm also going to have you back on, because what we haven't spoken about, I'd hoped to, and we've run out of time, but what I'd hoped to talk to you about was, we've got 30 seconds, I think, left to talk. If you tell people a very brief piece about the novel that's coming out in October, and then we'll have you back on at the time to talk about it.
Oh, that's great. Yes. So I have a novel called The Language of Bodies. It's being produced by Woodhall Press in October of this year. And it's about one woman's obsession with vengeance, because her wife, who's a trans woman of color, is murdered. So she kind of goes off and is determined to wreak some havoc.
I feel like there should be really dramatic music playing now. There should be a dum 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 at least, or it's I'm really looking forward to reading that. If anybody wants to, in my post tonight about what's coming up in the show, if anybody goes on to Trans Radio, or if anybody goes on to my Twitter, you'll see the proper spelling of Suzanne's name. And if you just check on Amazon, all of her books are in there. It's been an absolute pleasure, Suzanne and Declan, to speak to you both this evening. And I certainly, as I said, love to talk to you on the Faith program. And we are definitely going to talk about the book whenever it comes out, because I think, I'm going to even get the sound effects machine out for that night.
That would be great.
Thank you so much. Enjoy. Well, I was going to say enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your late afternoon over there. And thank you so much for joining me on the program.
Thank you. You
very
take
much.
care.
Cheers. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Oh, I love this. We continue in moments.
This is good. Yes.
You're logged to Trans Radio UK.
Did you know we receive no funding here at Trans Radio UK? To keep us on air and growing, we rely on donations. To donate, please head to www.transradiouk.com and click the link. A regular payment of £20 will see you become a partner of Truck. Other options are available. Email info@transradiouk.com for details. A big thank you from all the team here at Trans Radio UK.
Trans Radio, supporting mermaids. Family and individual support for gender diverse and transgender children. For information, go to www.mermaidsuk.org.uk. International Trans Lifestyle Magazine, available in print and digital. Support group and events, information, friendship and support. transliving.co.uk.
Many website owners don't like their website hosting company or support provider, but are too scared to move to someone else in case they lose their site or it affects their business. Based in Telford, at Purple Prince Media, we will move your website to us free of charge with the best support possible. And if you're looking to start up a business, we're also here to design and build your website from the ground up with unbeatable prices on web hosting and dedicated servers. We're also certified Magento developers, which is the world's biggest e-commerce platform. So, rest assured, your online business is just a click away. Drop us an email on hello@purpleprince.co.uk or visit purpleprince.co.uk to get started. Purple Prince Media, the local website company.
Trans Radio UK is on right now. Across the UK and beyond. Now. More of the music you love. Once more. Trans Radio UK.
Well, it is that time. It's time for He's Here, He's Queer, and He Likes to Drink Beer. You know I'm getting somebody to professionally record that. It is, of course, Rory Carrick.
Hi, Kevin. Delighted to be here, to be queer, and later I will be drinking beer. So, yes, hello.
I am going to get, do you know what? I'm going to send my dear personal friend, Ollie Alexander, a request to record that especially for you.
Well, do you know what? That'd actually be lovely. And if you can't do it, I'm very happy to have superstar Hazel Dean do it either.
Oh, do you know, I'm going to send her a message now. She's in the studio at the minute, so, and a friend of the show, and I'm sure that she would love nothing more than to record that as a jingle. How have you been? Where have you been?
So I'm good to start with. I am back in Dublin. It was raining today, very, 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 very miserable. I was in Lanzarote last weekend again for my mom's birthday. So my dad flew us over to surprise her, and surprised she was. And then I went to Madrid on Monday for a couple of nights to see my fancy man that I'm dating. So that was nice. So yes, I'm dating internationally now, which is a lot of fun.
So does that... What you're trying to say is you've run out of men in Ireland. You've made your way through everyone. Anyone affected by dating Rory Carrick, please email kevin@transradiouk.com.
Thoughts and prayers with you all at this difficult time.
Yeah, there are people up and down the country now going on to Facebook marking themselves safe from having dated Rory Carrick.
I mark myself single, they mark themselves safe. Yeah.
Oh, too funny. So what has been going on this week in Ireland in the brief 2 minutes you've spent there?
Well, in the brief 2 minutes I've spent there. So there's a bit of a Eurovision theme happening in Ireland this weekend. And as I'm sure many of your listeners will know, Ireland used to have quite the Eurovision crown with 7 wins over a number of years. Then we started to send things like turkeys, literal turkeys, to represent us in the Eurovision. And for anyone who doesn't know, that's a real thing. Dustin the turkey, a turkey in a shopping trolley, represented us one year. So, and then Jedward 2 years in a row. Yeah, it's quite the hodgepodge of things. And then, of course, we've had a whole gap of just not even qualifying. So this year, the campaign has started again. And this weekend, we will be selecting our entrant for the Eurovision, which is quite exciting. Mm-hmm. So there'll be 6 participants taking part. It's judged by a mix of an international jury, kind of a local jury, and then a public vote. So it all seems fairly fair. Mm-hmm. And coupled with that, our wonderful Queen of Ireland, Panty Bliss, has thrown her proverbial crown in the ring to announce the results of the Irish vote this year. So she popped that out on Twitter during the week and has had, naturally enough, an absolutely wonderful amount of positive feedback. So I don't know, hopefully those in the know, or those in charge, or to ye if you're listening, hopefully they will, take her up on her offer and maybe get a little bit of Panty Bliss announcing the results this year, which would be quite exciting. Something a little bit different, something a little bit campy, and obviously the Eurovision has a huge gay following. So I think she would be ideally placed, and I would imagine it would also attract quite a lot more viewers as well, purely just by having her do the results. So that's quite exciting.
Absolutely. I mean, I honestly don't understand how it hasn't happened already. I don't understand why Panty hasn't been the face of the results.
Yeah, it's crazy. She's just a natural choice. I mean, we've had lots of older men in the past announcing the results, and then we've kind of gone over in kind of more recent years to the likes of Nikki Byrne, and look, at Nikki is lovely and all the rest, but give us somebody a little bit more exciting, someone who literally plays Eurovision songs in her bar to her wonderful campy gay public. And I think it's time. I definitely think it's time. So this might be the year that the country listens and we get somebody exciting like Panty.
I mean, I think the thing that a lot of people maybe don't realize is that Ireland not only won 7 times, but Ireland has a deep. There was a year that Ireland wrote. An Irish person wrote the winning song for a Scandinavian country, and then, of course, if you take a look at my home city, and at one time Ireland's favourite son, Phil Coulter, if you take a look at what he wrote, and put that into the Irish tally, I mean, he won with "Puppet on a String" for Sandy Shaw in the United Kingdom. Came second with "Congratulations" by Cliff Richard. And, that was a Phil Coulter penned song, and one which I think in many ways eclipsed Eurovision songs in the same way Riverdance did. And there was a lesser known one, "Toi," he wrote for Luxembourg, which came 5th place by an artist called Geraldine. So he's had a winner, a second, and a 5th on top of the Irish 5 wins, and on top of the one for Scandinavia. And so it's that Eurovision Song Contest, it belongs to us.
Yeah, there's a lot of pedigree in there, and I think it's about time that we started to properly get up the scoreboard there. And I know in now, obviously I'm no Eurovision expert, but I know in past years, Ireland, there was all of these kind of, rumors. Ireland doesn't want to win because it can't afford to host it. And I know financial analyst either, but it all seems a little bit sus. But I'm declaring I'm an expert on nothing here, so just making that clear. But yeah, I mean, look, we've had pedigree in the past, and it would be nice. It would be nice to see us back up there. But there's 6 really good entries, so I had a little listen to them this morning, just to have an idea of what they are. And I have to say, the majority of them they're kind of, they're much more modern, they're upbeat, they're kind of dancey. There's maybe one kind of slow ballad in it, maybe a little bit dated and not really where the Eurovision has been going the last few years. Then that said, I suppose there's been a lot of kind of rock and alternative stuff been winning as well from the Eurovision. But I think there's some strong contenders in there for the show. So that's happening this weekend on our Late Late Show, which I think we spoke about before. So the Late Late Show is an Irish institution
And of course, we're recording this on Friday, so by the time this goes out on Sunday night, we will have a. Well, is it an instant no? Is it a long?
I'm not sure actually. So I mean, between now and then, we'll obviously be able to update each other as it goes live. So
yes.
By Sunday, hopefully you'll have the answer to that.
Well, after I play this interview and I come back on, come back on live. If there is a winner, then I'll see if we can play a clip of it. So I always love the selection process for both. I've been to see the British selection process many years ago when Jade Ewan won it. I went. Graham Norton hosted the show, and my ex and I got tickets for it. And we were actually sitting beside, right next to Jade Ewan's parents and her dad's very gorgeous guide dog. And yeah, we got to sit beside them. So it was great crack, but yeah, total Eurovision not here. So I tell you, over the next couple of weeks.
Dare I ask this question, Kevin? Who will you be voting for? Ireland or England? Let's say in the event there was 12 points in it and you had 12 points to award.
Oh, it would always come down to Ireland.
Who are you giving them to?
The patriotism.
Okay,
always
good to know.
But if it came down to Great Britain and another country, then obviously the UK would get my 12 points. I'm doing a Terry Wogan. There's at this point my bum cheeks are clenched around that fence. I am sitting on it so tightly.
Kevin has just lost 12,000 listeners.
I tell you what, the days that I get 12,000 listeners, then I'll be happy to lose 12,000 listeners.
Well, glad to hear if it comes to it is, Ireland is the top choice, and I fully support that.
So of course we are now on DAB radio in Ireland. So whilst most of our listeners are in the UK, we are growing in the Republic. So if you've got any feedback about the Irish choices or about the songs, then again, message me at the same times as your stories about being safe from Rory. Again, same email address, kevin@transradiouk.com. Rory, thank you so much for joining us. I am genuinely really looking forward to finding out. And I have a funny feeling Panty will get to read the results, because come on, if she started a campaign I mean, look at the last campaign she did. We all us gays can get married now because of it. So I think the least that she can achieve is getting to say the results.
Yeah, I think it should be a case of, as she says it, so it shall be done. And I'll just throw in who I think might be a good contender out of all of the six that I've listened to. I'm torn between Rachel Good with I'm Loving Me and Brooke Scullion with That's Rich. So one or either of those is who I'm definitely voting for. Brooke Scullion.
And what's the Brooke Scullion song?
That's Rich.
Okay,
so it's has more of a kind of a rock vocal to it. Again, modern, upbeat, but yeah, really, really good.
Let's see if I agree with you. We'll have a quick chat on it next week. Do you know what? Just to prove, just in case, I'm not going to have you turn around next week and say, "Oh, you're only saying that because it won." So I'm just going to pop out on the LGBTQ shop on my Facebook page. I'm going to pop out who I think is going to take it tonight, just to see.
Okay.
Just so there's no back.
Yeah.
You've pinned your jock strap to the mast, so I'll do the same thing this evening.
Okay. Fair. Yeah.
Lovely. Rory, thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to chatting to you next week.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Oh, I love this. We continue in moments.
This is good.
Yes.
You're logged to Trans Radio UK. Our truck shop is open. Hoodies, t-shirts, face masks, hats, and a whole lot more. Visit transradiouk.com.
Ever thought about having your own radio show? Well, now you can, as we're looking for presenters to join our team. No experience is needed and minimal equipment required. For more information, email info@transradiouk.com.
Looking for business cards, flyers, in fact anything in print? We can help. Digital format specialists, www.printsmart.uk.com. Think smart, print smart.
Hi, I'm Hazel Dean, and you can get my new Always collection from the LGBTQ+ shop with all the profits going to Trans Radio UK.
www.thelgbtqshop.com/Hazel. Hazel is spelled with 2 L's. HAZELL.
Tea and Coffee are a global network providing alcohol-free safe spaces through face-to-face and online platforms. All of our events are held in safe, accessible and alcohol-free environments, allowing our members to relax and really connect with one another. To become part of one of the fastest growing global networks for trans and gender diverse people, simply visit tncoffeelgbt.com. That's the letter tncoffeelgbt.com. At Tea and Coffee, we're supporting you to be you.
Trans Radio UK is on right now. Across the UK and beyond. Now. More of the music you love. Once more. Trans Radio UK.
If you've been listening over the last few weeks, you can't fail to notice a second Celtic accent on the show. The lovely Mike Findlay from Rising Fox has been joining us on the show each week. He's a life and career coach within the LGBTQ community and is based in Scotland. And welcome along to the show again, Mike.
Hello, thank you for having me back.
It's lovely to have you back. It sounds like you had quite an enjoyable weekend because for anybody who's listening and not sure, you're Glasgow based, but sounds like you had a lovely weekend up in Edinburgh.
Yes. So I went to the dark side. I went to the east side of Scotland. So there's rivalry between Glasgow and Edinburgh. And managed to avoid the rugby, apart from the rugby fans on the train on the way back. So I'm not going to make any comments about rugby.
You see, I spent a career trying to bump into slightly tipsy rugby people, but that's just me.
How did that work out for you?
I don't think I can say on air.
Fair enough.
If I was female, I would have many babies by now. But so what are we talking about this week, Mike?
Yeah, so this week, I'm going to talk about the concept of being indistractable. So what I'm going to speak to you about is the basis of a book by someone called Nur Eyal, who's based in the US. And the book is called Indistractable, How to Control Your Attention and Choose Your Life. So essentially what this is about is regaining control of technology. So not letting technology control you. How many times, Kevin, have you gone out for a coffee or a pint with a friend? And then you haven't seen them maybe for 6 months and you're like, great to meet up with you. You sit down to have a conversation. Your phone pings, oh, it's a text, oh, it's a WhatsApp. Before you know it, the hour is over and you've spent more time on your mobile phone than you have chatting to the person. Have you been in that situation before?
No, purely because I do not take my mobile out. It's if I go to a restaurant or if I go to a coffee shop, I don't take it out. But that's purely because I spend a lot of time on mobile because of work, and I hate just what you're saying now. I sat having a drink with a friend maybe 4 or 5 years ago who spent most of their time, we were having a pint, spent most of their time between their iPad, Apple Watch and iPhone. And I remember thinking, I'm going to kill you. So it infuriates me. So I put it away for that very reason. But I've been on the other end of it tons of time. And even yet it's, but I mean, I quite often will say to people, do you want to put the phone away or are we chatting? What's going on?
Brilliant. So you're obviously a gold standard in distracting people then, Kevin. So you don't need any of this. So basically, let me talk you through a bit more of the kind of concept. So there's kind of 4 steps when it comes to regaining control of your life and getting off technology. Step number 1 is about paying attention to feelings you get before you become distracted. So we've all been in those situations where the mobile phone's in a different room, you're having a conversation with a friend or partner face to face, and you suddenly go, wait a minute, my mobile phone's over there. Maybe I've got a text. Maybe I've got a news alert. What's happening? So it's really keeping yourself in check and understanding, why did you feel the need to check your phone at that moment in time when you sat down to lunch with that friend, for example, that you haven't seen for months? Sometimes this can lead to you feeling anxious, having a craving. It's almost like a food craving. I have to admit, I've been there myself, feeling restless or thinking that you're a bit incompetent. You're a bit incompetent because you can't give up your mobile phone. I have to admit, I'm there pretty much on a daily basis. Step number 2 is about recognizing these triggers and essentially recording them. So within the book, there's a distraction tracker tool that allows you to kind of note this down. So it can be very much kind of basic details around, I was in the kitchen, the mobile phone was in the living room, and I felt distracted. So noticing it and noting it down. And that allows you in step 2 to think about better ways of kind of managing your own kind of triggers and distractions.
Sounds a bit like people keeping a food diary if they're on a diet of everything they eat.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it can have the same results, because the first step is pretty much about acknowledging it, and then the second step is about managing it. So step 3 is about getting curious about what you're experiencing. Why did you reach for your mobile phone as soon as your partner sat down, you and your partner sat down to watch Netflix last night? Learning to acknowledge your cravings is half the battle, and without acting on them is a powerful way of overcoming them. As we see from similar techniques that have been applied to study people trying to stop smoking, for example, participants who explored their cravings in detail managed to quit at twice the rate of people of those as part of a study that was done in America, basically. So that for me is absolutely fascinating, because it does get to the heart of your cravings.
Mm-hmm.
Step number 4 is being aware of what they're describing as liminal moments. The liminal moments are basically moments of when you're transitioning from one thing to another throughout the day. So you may look at your mobile phone while at a traffic light, for example, or you may get caught up with social media in between meetings. And the author suggests using a 10-minute rule. So essentially, rather than acting your impulses, so you've got an impulse to check your mobile phone, you basically give yourself 10 minutes, and you learn to live with that kind of urge and that temptation. And then through that, you manage to manage your kind of emotions and your emotional response.
Do you know, one of the things that I read this fantastic article, and do you know what? I'm going to see if I can find it to email it to you that ties into this. And it's just about the psychology that Apple uses with their notifications, which basically it's all a land grab. It's all just to try and get you, to hook you in. I mean, I have notifications off loads of times. When you said actually what was the trigger, it's funny because I guess the trigger probably was one of my first marketing roles was in a mobile company in the early days of mobiles. And I used to have to try out every handset. So when SMS was in its infancy, I was addicted, constant. I mean, this is years before smartphones, but constantly on my phone. And I think I burned myself out with it. And now it's like, I'd go back to Nokia 3310 if it weren't for needing social media for work and for clients and for, to be able to do that. People really are addicted. Did you ever see? You are bound to have seen it. I walked into Las Iguanas. It was during the summer last year at some point, and I kid you not, there was 3 or 4 kids with their parents. Every person around that damned table in Las Iguanas was sitting on their mobile phone.
Yeah, lack of eye contact and not living in the moment as well. And I'm relating this back to our conversation last time round about those kind of deep listening conversations. Because if you're not living in the moment, if you're on your mobile phone, are you actually present for the people around you? Probably not. So there's a few bits of advice that I wanted to part on to listeners. So the book also talks about hackback moments, which is quite American terminology, but we're basically talking about cutting back. So one of the hackbacks is about emails. So reduce the number of messages that you actually receive. So spend less time on each message. Brilliant. My day job's going to get a lot simpler. Label emails according to when they need responded. Reply to emails during scheduled time in your diary only. For people that work, I think that's absolutely critical, because you start your day on a Monday and you can just get caught up in emails for 8 days a week, for eight hours a day, 5 days a week. So being able to have mark time your emails is a really good way of managing it. Also, I don't know about you, but I've got a Gmail account. When I set up my Gmail account 4 years ago, I was like, right, let's not get spammed. And now every day I'm getting about 1,000 emails of things I've signed up for. So come off those lists. You don't actually need them. Hack back your smartphone. Delete the apps you don't use. I'm not going to mention any rude ones. Switch alerts off. This is something that we've become really accustomed to. How many news alerts do you get, Kevin, to your mobile?
Oh, absolutely constant. And from things that I am certain that I did not sign up for. I mean, the amount of rubbish I get from the Sun, how it's getting through or what, they're coming from daily digest apps or something. They're bloody annoying.
Yeah. And the thing is, the other thing about apps, news apps in particular, and I'm not going to mention one from a specific national broadcaster because I might get sued, but they've got those dramatic tones when the news alert comes in, and it actually makes your heart rate go up for a specific reason. You're like, oh my God, what's happened? Disaster time. So delete the apps or get the alerts off from the apps. The final one is about hacking back in online articles. I don't know about you, but I consume a lot of online articles. So while I'm traveling from A to B, I'm always spotting articles online, and the temptation to kind of dip into it while I'm wandering around or spending time with friends, family is often great. There's actually a really great app called Pocket, which allows you to save online articles to come back to later on when it actually suits you timing-wise and when you're on your own. I also use, I don't know if you use this as well, Kevin, I just use notes, the plain old notes on my mobile phone.
Yeah.
So if I see something of interest, I'll just cut and paste it, dump it into there, and come back to it at a later stage. And I find that helps because it means I'm living in the moment.
I have got, do you know what, hundreds of notes on my phone. I love that functionality. And I hear you with Gmail as well. There's a great thing for Gmail called SaneBox. And it's a couple of dollars a month. I think I pay about £4 a month or something for it. And it's fantastic at filtering and setting up rules and so on. I detest that noise and that online noise. It's like, it's absolutely dire. If I go over onto the beach, I think everybody knows I live in Brighton. If I go over onto the beach, I just put the phone onto airplane mode because it's just live in the moment. So many people don't.
Yeah. And do you know what it's fundamentally about? It's about that FOMO, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's about fear of missing out. And I think, we're talking about pandemics with COVID, but we've got a pandemic of FOMO.
Yeah.
So my advice to listeners is to turn that FOMO into JOMO, which is the joy of missing out.
Yes.
Which is essentially your ability to switch off and do a little bit less. And this applies a bit to technology, but a bit about life in general. So, for example, yesterday I was chatting to you earlier about being in Edinburgh, and I had a really great day with my friends in Edinburgh. My friend wanted to continue, go on elsewhere. The younger version of me would have absolutely done it, but I thought, do you know what? I just actually want to go home and get a cup of tea.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home and have a couple of hours to myself having a cup of tea. Is that an age thing or is that a JOMO thing?
That's a sign you're getting old, Mike. Embrace it.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Listen, thank you so much for joining us. And I think that, once you finish listening to the show, which we've only got a few minutes left, but once you have finished listening to the show, turn your device off. It's almost 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. You don't need to sit scrolling through social media. Thank you so much for joining me, Mike, and I look forward to chatting to you next week.
Thank you. I wondered if I could just end on a quick quote.
Yes.
You can indulge me one more second. So yesterday at the National Portrait Gallery in Edinburgh, I was learning about the Victorian poet, William Ernest Henley. And it just struck me that the end of his poem Invictus, I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul, relates to what we're chatting about today in terms of taking control of technology and not letting technology control you. So the Victorians knew it. They knew social media was coming. They knew about the technological revolution, and we're here now. So keep that in mind.
What I think you should do is make a meme out of that quote for your Rising Fox social media page. Although there's an irony therein that people will be sitting reading it whilst doing the very thing you're telling them not to. Thanks a million, Mike. Talk to you next week.
Oh, I love this. We continue in moments.
This is good.
Yes.
You're locked to Trans Radio UK.
If you're transgender, feeling lonely and don't think there's any help available, well, now Trans Radio UK have Track Listens, a confidential phone service just for you on 0800 009 6640.
Talk for some time and you're feeling good. It's gone so much better than you thought it would. And you're really glad you went and made that phone call. That was a small price for you to pay.
Go on, make that call. It's a small price.
Listen to every day.
To talk to someone who's both sympathetic and empathetic, call Truck Listeners 0800 009 6640. Truck Listen.
Trans Radio UK. Tune in via DAB in Ireland. Download our app via your smart speaker or online at transradiouk.com. Win £25,000 and help Truck Listens at the same time. Enter the Rainbow Lottery and click Truck Listens as your chosen organisation. And not only can you win £25,000, 50p of every ticket purchased will go to Truck Listens. Please see www.transradiouk.com and click Win £25,000 for more details.
Did you know you can advertise with us for less than £1 a day? Call 0207 856 0584 or email sales@transradiouk.com. Trans Radio UK is on right now. Across the UK and beyond. Now, more of the music you love. Trans Radio UK.
Well, you heard me and Rory talking about it. I did promise I would play the winning track. And this year, representing Ireland, it's an artist called Brooke Scullion, and that's Rich, who won on Friday night on the Late Late Show and qualified. So I'm going to play that track now, and I'm looking forward to hearing what's representing the UK as well. Hopefully we'll have a few more Eurovision tracks over the next few weeks before the show. Brooke Scullion, we have a rich, I'm delighted to say she's from my home city of Derry. We have a rich heritage when it comes to Eurovision. You'll have heard me talk about Rory to it earlier. Very first Irish winner out of all 7 to make us the most winning country in history. Did we mention that? Was, of course, Dana, All Kinds of Everything, from my lovely hometown. Phil Coulter, who wrote a winning track as well, also from there. So let's see if Brooke can continue the trend. Brooke Scullion, that's Rich. Thank you for joining me this evening. I hope you enjoyed this track, and I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.